You gonna prevent me from recording?
Sir, you can record from that side of the patrol car.
Okay. So what's your name?
Flores.
Your name?
It's Lopez.
Lopez. You're preventing me from recording,
You
right?
can record from that side of the patrol car, sir.
If I don't,
Interference.
you will arrest me, right?
You're past the police car, sir, so you're fine right there.
Okay. He already told me behind
put your hand behind your back.
He told me behind the
Yeah, but
unit.
we're working the whole scene.
He told me.
Put your hand behind your back.
Hey everybody, it's James Freeman. Today's video is coming to us from Corners News on YouTube. On March 10th, 2022, he was recording a rollover accident scene in Laredo, Texas on Highway 83 South. Drone footage that he went back and got later showed that he was 119 feet away from the crash and 70 feet away from the emergency vehicles that were investigating the crash scene. A sergeant and another officer, who appeared to have forgotten to take their ADD medication before their shift started that day, made the long walk from their location on their scene over to Corners News to bark arbitrary orders at him and tell him that they wanted him to move a few feet away from where he was at. It's not just reasonable, but should always be expected that news media should not interfere with emergency scenes. Every single police or emergency scene is different, so while often it's perfectly reasonable to be 10 feet away from an officer while recording them, reasonable and rational people, such as Corners News, who are aware of their surroundings and their situation, understand that on a scene this big, that would not be reasonable. This is why Corners News assessed the scene and the situation and chose his location where he could get his shot of the incident without being anywhere near close enough to disrupt any possible evidence or possibly interfere with the investigators. Based on where the crashed vehicle was located and where it came from to get there, Corners News could have been another 50 feet closer and still not been even close to causing a problem for investigators. But as a reasonable person, which he is, he realized that he could get the shots that he needed from the location he was at, and had no need to get any closer. He showed that he was more than reasonable, not trying to push any lines or boundaries, just trying to get the shot. Unlike Corners News, the investigators on the scene with the Laredo Police Department are not rational thinking humans. As a matter of fact, based on their violent actions against a non-violent, innocent person, it's questionable whether they are even human at all. Their actions lower them to what we call state of nature beings, incapable of living and cooperating in civilized societies, incapable of conducting themselves within the same laws, rules, and boundaries as those of us who are civilized. Like the animals, they act based on what they want in the very moment, with little to no regard for anything or anyone other than what they want right here and right now. Humans have created societies with laws and common respected boundaries for one another, which is what separates us from the animals. We created governments to deal with those who refuse to operate on this higher level of consciousness and who instead revert back to the animal state of taking what they want when they want it. These governments would take those animal-like people and put them in cages where they could not harm those of us who choose to cooperate with one another and live within the bounds of a civilized society. No amount of TikTok dances will rehumanize those who choose to live and act like animals. Dancing on TikTok is not what separates humans from the animals. Even animals can dance on TikTok. Only choosing to abandon their state of nature behavior and choosing to live and operate within the civilized rules and laws of a human society will rehumanize them. And as you see in this video, they're not doing a very good job of it. In this video, we will show you that there are certain written laws that specifically draw out how the civilized people in our society should act in these exact scenarios. After reading the agreed upon codes of conduct, often called laws or legislation pertaining to this incident, and then watching the behavior of the animal-like creatures violating those codes of conduct, I think it would be difficult, if not impossible, to argue that the animals in this video could be numbered among us civilized humans. They show an absolute blatant disregard for any type of decency that could be considered human. The vehicle you see here is not an emergency vehicle. It's a traveler who's using this access road on the side of the highway to get around the accident scene. As you can see, it was much closer to the scene than Corners News ever gets. I've cut a lot out of the video, but Corners News has been in this location for over 5 minutes before officers leave their scene to come over and harass him.
Hey sir, how's it going, sir? Hello, sir. Just gonna afraid that right now it's closed, okay?
What's close?
All this, so we're gonna have to go. All right, sir.
Okay.
All this is closed off.
Clearly, it's not actually closed as a vehicle just drove by. It's not closed to anybody except those who are recording.
All right, sir. So we're gonna have to ask you to leave, sir. All right. You can take photos from that over there. But not from
It's
here.
open, man.
Yeah.
It's public.
No.
It's not taped up.
We have it closed off.
It's not
It
closed.
doesn't matter, but I'm telling you, sir.
That's not.
Yeah, we have
That's
it.
not the way it works.
It's real simple, sir. Just,
That's not the way it works, man.
you can move over there. Right now, you can't be here, sir.
You need to put tape up, man.
We don't need to
It's
put tape.
open to the public.
Patrol car right there, sir. Anything this side of that patrol car?
That's not the way it works. That's not the way it works.
Need you to step back, sir.
You're gonna prevent me from recording?
Sir, you can record from that side of the patrol car.
Okay. So what's your name?
Flores.
Your name?
It's Lopez.
Lopez. You're preventing me from recording,
You
right?
can record from that side of the patrol car, sir.
If I don't,
Interference.
you know what interference is.
I'm telling you.
I know it by heart.
We are processing a crime scene here, sir. All right,
okay.
so I need you to step back behind that patrol car.
Or else
You will be arrested, sir.
for interference.
Yes, sir.
For 3815.
You're inside of a crime scene, sir. You're inside of a crime scene, sir.
You will arrest me for 3815.
Yes, sir. So will you step back, please, to avoid any issues? Flores, badge number 822.
Perfect.
Have a good day.
You will arrest me, right?
You're past the police car, sir, so you're fine right there.
Okay.
Notice that the officer made Corners News move back a completely arbitrary 20 feet. In order to show how completely arbitrary this was and how it had absolutely nothing to do with the actual scene, we'll take a look at an aerial view. The vehicle came from the south, headed northbound, and landed right here. Corners News was 119 feet away right here. The animal threatened him with violence if he would not move back an arbitrary 20 feet or so to right here. Right here, and to the south out of the picture, is where investigators were investigating the crash, where the vehicle had come from and where it landed. Investigators had already been on scene for over an hour when Corners News arrived, and none of them had come within 50 feet of where Corners News decided to record from, because that simply just was not the location of the investigation. Notice also that after Corners moves, the sergeant tells him he's fine where he's at.
You will arrest me, right?
You're past the police car, sir, so you're fine right there.
Okay.
I will in a minute if you don't get down this line. You see that patrol car right there, sir?
Who was that?
You see that patrol car right
Who
there?
was that making the threat?
Don't worry about it. You see, behind that patrol car.
Who was that making the threat?
I'm Officer Martinez with the Police Department, Motorcycle Division. Put your hands behind your back.
Oh, it's you.
Last year, this officer had an encounter with Corners News where he told him if he ever showed up recording on one of his scenes again with a firearm on him, that he would arrest him.
Investigation.
He already told me behind
put your hands behind your back.
He told me behind
Yeah,
the
but we're
unit.
working the whole scene.
He told me.
Put your hands behind your back.
Who has higher rank?
I'm telling you. Put
Who
your
has
hands behind your
higher
back.
rank?
Put your hand.
Put your hands behind your back.
Watch it with a 32.
They violently attacked him, claiming that he was violating one of the rules or codes of conduct in our society, one that we call interference with public duties. But like we talked about earlier, these rules and codes of conduct are in writing, and Corners News did not violate the rule they're claiming he did. As a matter of fact, in the process of attacking him, they violated one of the most sacred rules in our society: deprivation of rights under color of law. The rule that one should not violently attack another in retaliation for exercising rights, privileges, or immunities secured by the Constitution or laws of our society is considered to be so sacred in our society that the consequences for violation of this rule can include being put to death, as per the written rule. Not surprisingly, the creature that could not act within the bounds of our civilized society also lied on its oath multiple times on its sworn affidavit. Santiago Martinez swears to the following. Due to having all roads closed and several officers on scene to include supervisors, no one was allowed to access the area we were working the accident investigation since all roads were blocked and all north and southbound traffic was being diverted on South US Highway 83 to alternate routes. There's multiple lies in this one poorly structured run-on sentence that hurts to read. One was that both lanes of traffic were closed. Martinez was leading this investigation, so he's not ignorant to the fact that only the northbound lanes were closed. In the video, southbound traffic was driving past. Even the department's own Facebook post is testament to the fact that only northbound lanes were closed. Also, we saw that a vehicle used the southbound access road to get around the accident, making it perfectly clear that the particular area that Corners was standing in was not closed. He goes on to say, I observed supervisors on the scene talking to the man recording. I then advised from a distance that no one was allowed on scene or could be recording so close to the scene. I then advised the other crash team officers working the scene to stop what we were doing, so I could go advise the male subject he could not be recording so close to the scene. This is the part of the affidavit where he mostly tells the truth. He made it clear that his problem initially was that someone was exercising their right to free press. He also articulated that the person recording was so far away that he had to stop his investigation and leave the area of his investigation in order to go over to the media area and violate the person that was recording. His wording doesn't say that anyone was in the way, but that he had to go out of his way to violate this person's rights. I then walked over and approached the supervisors and the male subject recording and advised him that he had to leave the area. At the point, the male subject said no, and I then advised him to put his hands behind his back, and that point he said no once more.
I'm Officer Martinez with the Police Department Motorcycle Division. Put your hands behind your back.
Oh, it's you.
Active investigation.
He already told me
Okay,
behind
put your hands behind your back.
He told me behind
Yeah,
the
but
unit.
we're working the whole scene.
He
Tell it.
told me.
Put your hands behind your back.
Who has higher rank?
I'm telling you. Put
Who
your
has
hands behind your
higher
back.
rank?
As you see, unlike he swore in his affidavit, he never told anyone to leave the area. He simply left his job to go and arrest someone for standing exactly where the supervisor told him to stand. By refusing to act human and instead acting like an animal, you dehumanize yourself.